Welcome, everyone, to the Zalon. I'm delighted to be hosting tonight's Zalon from McDowell Artist Residency in Peterborough, New Hampshire. If you're new to this salon community, a warm welcome to you. I'll provide some background on salon history and then introduce David Messiaen, McDowell's director, who will say a few words before we begin. I started my salon in 1986 in Philadelphia to continue the long tradition of music gatherings in the home, to foster collaboration amongst artists, and to help build a vital, joyful, and engaged community around the arts. Salons can be traced all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome, where hosts would invite guests to engage in intellectual discourse and debate. In the 17th and 18th centuries, these literary salons flourished in Italy and France and came to be known by the room in which they were held. The salon was the French parlor. Salonières would invite writers, philosophers, theologians, and great thinkers of all kinds to spark inspiring discussion. I was inspired by the 19th century salons in France that included more musicians and artists, when Paris was a hub for cultural, intellectual, and creative exchange. Many composers wrote works specifically for the salons. Chopin preferred the intimacy of the salon to the formal concert hall. The salons were on par with the opera house and the concert hall as crucial venues to the history of music. I was particularly interested in the Americans who in the early 20th century invigorated the arts with their salons. Mabel Dodge in Taos, New Mexico welcomed notable artists such as Georgia O'Keeffe, Carl Jung, D.H. Lawrence, Ansel Adams, and Igor Stravinsky to her casita, enlivening the small southwestern town. Interesting that in 1907, the same year that McDowell was founded, writer Gertrude Stein met her partner, Alice Toklas, and together they led Paris's salon scene by inviting arts luminaries, including Picasso, Thornton Wilder, Matisse, and Hemingway, to their home on the left bank. In 1986, I wanted to create a contemporary spin on those salons by programming diverse styles of music and arts in one evening, 10 performances, 10 minutes. It's been that way for 35 years. There were over 8,000 performers and 18,000 audience members coming through my living room. When the pandemic started, I was heartbroken that I had to cancel for the first time in 33 years. So with the help of a great technician and friend, Adam Vidixis, and a group of dedicated engineers, we took the series online and called it the Zalon, Zoom Salon. I wanted this online series to be as close to the personal experience of music in the home as possible. Performers present to the audience live from their homes and studios with interactivity for the audience. I've been amazed how it's grown internationally, with more people than I could ever fit in my loft. Artists have dug into their creative souls to find new and imaginative ways to share their art, and we've been surprised to have felt such palpable connection, even through the screen. The Salon celebrated its 35-year anniversary in September with a new form, the hybrid, in my Philly loft and remote, streaming in and out, connecting our communities. I'm so pleased tonight to be hosting this online program from the historic artist residency McDowell in Peterborough, New Hampshire, where I'm honored to be a composer in residence. I'd like to introduce you to Director David Messiaen, who will say a few words about McDowell. David?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much. Having met Andrea, I think in 2005, and attended she was here for her first residency then, and attended one of the salons at her home in Philadelphia soon afterwards. I still feel like very much of a newcomer here to this gathering. And to all IDI and to all of the others of you who are fellows in the audience, I want to say a warm hello. It's my distinct pleasure to be here tonight and sort of bring together Andrea's following with those who love McDowell. And if you are a member of the latter and you'd like to know more about the former, please visit mcdowell.org, where you can enlist to receive more information from us over time. In McDowell's origins, you would find the late traces of the early industrial ages, utopian movements, and in tonight's Anthropocene gathering, we are going to continue to find the balance between the solitude. Artists continue to find the balance between the solitude of the working studios here at MacDowell and the intensity of the social engagement around the table, which is not unlike the warmth and spirit that brings all of you here together tonight. So I just want to thank Andrea Clearfield for bringing us all together and turn things back over to where they belong. Andrea, please step in.
Thank you so much, David. You're much taller than me, so I'm going to adjust my camera. In our busy lives, in our multimedia world, how often do we have the opportunity to be still and receptive? I invite you all to exhale, to drop in and listen deeply. You'll experience many varied performances tonight. Some will be familiar and some less so. Observe what resonates with you. At the end of the evening, there'll be an opportunity for you to engage with the artists and ask questions about their work. Those of you here at MacDowell, feel free to step up to this computer station to engage in the Q&A. Many online folks also like to write questions and comments in the chat box. Online audience, you may unmute at the end of each performer's set to applaud. If you cannot unmute right away, please wait a second and try again, as the engineers will be changing the settings to allow the unmuting. You can also show appreciation with jazz hands. I'll offer a very brief intro to each performer. However, I encourage you to read more about them on our program page. There are links and ways that you can follow and support the performers. So do check the chat where that will be posted, as well as the donation link. Please consider donating to support these wonderful performers. Even though things are slowly opening up, many artists have lost work from the pandemic, and every little bit helps. You can make a simple tax-deductible donation through our fiscal sponsor, Crossroads Music. That link is in the chat and also on zalonarts.org website and on my invitations as well. The donations go to the performers, and my team and I volunteer. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the tech team working hard behind the scenes to help things run smoothly. I could not do this without them. Engineer Gerardo Razumni, who's also handling the donations and video editing. Engineers Manu Gajanan, Alex Glass, Jordan Vernick, and Andrew Litz, and website manager Lex Samakis. I would also like to acknowledge those here at MacDowell who've helped me with the setup and preparations: librarian Colette Lucas, Dan Milbauer, Jonathan Gourlay, and writer fellow Lance Richardson. Let's show our appreciation to the wonderful Zalon team. Thank you. Lastly, although I perform at the Zalon rarely myself, I've been asked by some folks here at MacDowell if I'd show off this exquisite concert Steinway piano and also provide a live performance component for the audience here. So I'll play a very short excerpt of one of my works about halfway through the program. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our first performer, Joy Ike. Polished and precise, Joy Ike paints with a broad palette. Born to Nigerian immigrants, her music, voice, and writing have drawn comparisons to female musicians such as Nina Simone, Laura Nyro, and Regina Spektor, and her percussive piano playing and soaring vocals give homage to her African upbringing. Joy has played thousands of shows across the country, including performing it several times in my loft. I'm delighted to welcome Joy for the first time to the Salon's virtual stage, performing from her home studio in Philadelphia. Let's all give a warm welcome to Joy Ike.
Hi everyone, and it's good to be here again in a different way, but I haven't done many live streams in the last month or so, and I'm just remembering why I love doing them, getting to see people from places that I would never get to be, and also sharing music with people that music brings together, because music does that in a way that nothing else can. So this first song I'm gonna share is called Go, and it's really just about catching your second wind, which in some ways I feel like is where we are collectively as a country, as the world. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Lift your head high. And don't let it low. Let out a sigh. Then get up and go. Go out and get it. Hey, hey. Go out and get it. Hey, hey. Oh, won't you lift your head high. And don't you ever let it low. Let out a sigh. And get up and go. Go out and get it. Hey, hey. Go out and get it. Hey, hey. Go out and get it. Hey, hey. Go out and get it. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, won't you get it? Do it, love it, live it, walk it, talk it, work it, rock it, get it, do it, love it, live it, walk it, talk it, work it, rock it, get it, do it, love it, live it, walk it, talk it, work it, rock it, get it, do it, love it, live it, walk it, talk it, rock. Why don't you go, 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 go and get it, get it. Go out and get it, get it. Go out and get it, oh, oh, oh. Go out and get it, oh, 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 oh. Boom, 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 boom. Go. Thank you. I'm going to share one more song with you guys. I'm going to preface it with a poem. I was talking with Andrea a little bit beforehand about how I haven't been songwriting lately. I haven't written a song in about a year and a half, but I ended up starting to write poetry instead. And so I'm thinking at some point I'll put a spoken word album out. But the thing that I've kind of been made aware of in this past year and a half is how much context changes everything. And so kind of like looking at songs that are, 12, 13 years old, and all of a sudden they're taking on new meaning. And so sometimes I'll write a poem and then I'll look back and I'll think, oh, I actually wrote a song about that 5-7 years ago. So the song I'm going to play is called Hold On. And I think even with Go, the song I just played in Hold On, there's this kind of connecting theme of perseverance. And this poem is called Wearing Thin. And it's really just kind of me taking inventory about where we are with everything, and really the fabric of our country, I guess, is kind of how I would explain it. It's really about the fabric. I feel it. Fabric wearing thin. Almost at the point where no one cares if they win. We just want our peace to pay off mortgages and lease, to step outside the front door and freely walk our streets. But the dissonance is palpable, seemingly insurmountable. The wreckage and the carnage and the death around incalculable. Communities collapsible, no credit, clout, or capital. Aimless thoughts and ringing shots make dreaming dreams impractical. We see it. Fabric, wearing thin, unable to hold the weight of where we are and where we've been. Tethered to false hope the past is coming back again, and growing tired of waiting for the future to begin. And soon enough it will give up, the threads will snap in two, and all the instability will finally fall through. And when the bottom completely out readily gives way, many will need all their strength just to live another day. But hope will be the only thing to break this ugly fall, to lift our heads and wake the dead who fell asleep to numb it all. And when we wake the weathered rug pulled out from underneath us, we'll uncover the severed trust still living in between us. We'll have no choice but work as one to knit us back together, and pride will not be welcomed here as grace will be the measure. We feel it, fabric wearing thin, almost at the point where no one cares if they win. Almost. This next and last song is called Hold On. Like a candle burning in the dark, like the good skin underneath the scar. It's not what you want, but your hope is coming. Like an oak tree underneath the ground, a small seed waiting to come out. It's not what you want, but your hope is coming. Life takes all you got, but your hope is coming. 2, 3, 4. Come on, girl, hold on. You will find your song. Come on, man, stay here. You are not your fear. Oh, you put up walls and someone pulls them down. You think for help, but they kick you to the ground. Oh, it's not what you want, but your hope is coming. Oh, life takes all you got, but your hope is coming. Oh, it's not what you want, but your hope is coming. Oh, come on, girl, hold on. You will find your song. Come on, man, stay here. You are not your fear. You are bigger than your box, breaking off the locks, unassuming fire, burning up the lies. Bigger than your box, breaking off the locks, unassuming fire, burning up the lies. Bigger than your box, breaking off the locks, unassuming fire, burning up the lies. Bigger than your box, breaking off the locks, unassuming fire, burning burning up. Come on, girl, hold on. You will find your song. Come on, man, stay here. You are not your fear. This is not what you wanted. This is not what you asked for. You didn't need any of this. We never saw all this coming. Oh, it's not what you asked for. Oh, it's not what you wanted. And you wanna give up. Oh, you wanna give up. Oh, don't give up. Hold on. Thank you.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy. Your music
Yeah,
never fails to touch my soul, and it's a message that we all need.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to listening to the rest of you.
Please do stay on if you can, so we can chat with you at the end, and
For sure.
welcome you back to my house to perform again soon.
I would love that.
Joy,
Yep.
thank you. You're wonderful.
Excellent.
Everyone, just a reminder that you can make a simple tax-deductible donation to support the performers. That link is in the chat and also on the website, zalonarts.org. To learn more about these artists and how else you can support and follow them, please go to our artist page, which has the program and the bios and the links for each performer. And now I'm pleased to welcome back cellist Jeffrey Solow, who's been performing at the Salon for perhaps 2 decades more. He has a very special background image. Who recognizes that room? That's right, it's my living room, the Salon. How appropriate. Jeffrey Solow has played more than 40 solo works with orchestras worldwide and has been a guest artist at many national and international festivals. He's recorded for numerous record labels and received 2 Grammy Award nominations. Jeffrey has been a longtime professor of cello at Temple University and last year received the Lindback Award for Distinguished Teaching. Congratulations on that. He will play 2 short solo works by J.S. Bach from his home studio in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. He transcribed the first one from the original version for lute, and the second one he revised and edited. Join me as I welcome Jeffrey Solow back to the Salon.
Hello, everyone. Generally, Andrea's salons are booked as soon as she announces the yearly schedule. The whole year fills up immediately because they're so popular, not just with audiences, but of course with performers who love playing there. So I knew that I was going to be playing on this salon a number of months before it happened. And then, of course, it became a Zalon. The first thing that occurs to any cellist when they're realizing, oh, I guess I have to play by myself, because usually when I play live in Andrea's loft, I play something with piano accompaniment. But as I was about to say, when a cellist is going to play alone, the first thing that comes to mind is Bach. However, I didn't want to play any of the Bach suites, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to present to the world my transcription of this prelude originally for lute. Bach probably wrote it around 1720. We don't know for sure. We don't have his original manuscript. It only has come down to us in a manuscript through an admirer of his, Johann Peter Kellner. And it actually lies completely perfectly on the cello. Every note that's in the original you can do on the cello. Even though it's in C minor, it ends, interestingly enough, in G major, which then makes the absolutely perfect transition to the second piece that I'm going to play, which is the very well-known Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, which is actually a movement. It's really two movements because Bach used it twice in a cantata from 1723, and that is in G major, so it's just a perfect transition. My friend and colleague Edward Laut decided that he wanted more Bach suites too, so he actually took 7 different Bach pieces and boiled each one down for unaccompanied cello, and this was his Prelude. And I decided that I was going to get a slightly different take on the arrangement, so with Ed's permission, I made my own version of his transcription. And just to show you the versatility of the cello, in the original cantata, this movement is composed for choir, trumpet, violin, oboe, viola, and basso continuo. So on one single cello, I'm going to cover all of those instruments. Usually when I'm trying to program pieces for Andrea's salons, I have to try and find something that's short enough. In this case, both of these pieces turned out to be even shorter than I thought. So they're both going to be very brief. Each one is just a couple of minutes.
Lovely, lovely.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. That's a lot for one person to do. You were playing in counterpoint. You had the bass line going. You had the melody going. All the inner lines interweaving. Beautiful. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us yet again. How many years has it been?
Man, I'd have to go back into my archives and find the programs. It's many of them.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you playing tonight. Bach's music is very close to my heart, and my father's, who's watching tonight. I remember my dad telling me when I was a child that listening to Bach makes him feel that all is well in the world, that everything is in harmony in the universe. And I never forgot that. Jeffrey, we hope to chat with you later, so do stay on if you can.
I will be here.
Great, thanks. Our next artist was the first performer to play at the inaugural online Zalon in spring 2020. I remember that beautiful Bach performance. It's a pleasure to welcome back Maria Dell'Orefice, who began her musical studies at a young age. With the influence and support of her jazz pianist father, she learned piano and violin. Maria has been an active orchestral violinist and is also the pianist of the Enzo New Music Chamber Ensemble, specializing in music by living composers. Yeah. She has also performed at Carnegie Hall's Weill Recital Hall after winning several competitions. Maria will perform the first movement from Olivier Messiaen's Vingt Regards from her home in Strafford, PA. Let's give a warm welcome to Maria Dell'Orefice.
Thank you. It's great to be back. And as Dr. Solow said, I expected also to be in person this time, as I think this is my third time virtually, and I've never been in person. So I'm looking forward to that. And I call him Dr. Solow because I actually performed with his student, Chen at Temple. But I've never actually met him. I've met him virtually now, though. But yes, I will be playing the first movement from Messiaen's Vingt Regards sur l'Enfant Jésus, which essentially means 20 scenes on the infant Jesus. Olivier Messiaen was a very Catholic man, a composer from France, and a lot of his works were very religiously oriented. So this first movement is called Regard du Père, the scene of the Father. And it has many implications of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There's threes throughout the entire thing. The figure that you'll hear over and over is 1, 2, 3. The God theme that's presented in the beginning is presented 3 times. It goes through a development, and that development happens 3 times throughout. The lasting note at the end is played in a multiple of 3. So 3 is all over the place. And it's a very meditative, if not even prayerful movement. So I hope you enjoy.
mesmerizing performance. Maria, that it's difficult to play and to keep that space of suspension throughout.
Right, and to keep the idea throughout, you know, you kind of have to be in a mode, I guess you could say.
You were in the zone.
Yes.
That was beautiful, contemplative, powerful, um, wonderful, wonderful
Thank you.
performance. And the sound was actually quite good. I don't know what kind of microphone you have, but it
Yeah.
sounds wonderful too, coming through Zoom.
Awesome.
Thank you, Maria. It's just a pleasure to have you back again. And
Yes.
yes, we'll be performing in my home. We'll make sure of that. Thank you so much. Maria Dell'Orefice, everybody.
Thank you. And it's like,
Everyone, you can donate to the artists by clicking on the link in the chat. Every little bit helps. We're moving into the dance theater realm with acclaimed dancer, choreographer, and singer Janis Brenner. Janis is artistic director of Janis Brenner and Dancers in New York City. Known for her meticulous artistry, she's toured in 36 countries. She's received numerous awards, and her work has been staged on more than 50 companies and colleges worldwide. She's performed with Meredith Monk and many other great artists. Janis is on the faculty of the Juilliard School, mentoring choreographer and composer collaborations. She's performed in my Salon loft in Philly, and it's a true pleasure to welcome her back, this time to the virtual stage. Let's give a warm welcome, performing from New York City, to Janis Brenner.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi. This is the first time I'm ever performing in my apartment after 26 years here. And I'm going to be performing 2 excerpts of a one-woman show that's called Inheritance, a Litany, premiered 3 years ago off Broadway in a small house, and is just coming back to life after 21 months of not being performed or toured. So I'm thrilled to do a little excerpt. The litany comes from the idea that I made lists of everything you can imagine to do with my parents and our lives together. And how the older I got, the more I turned into both of my parents. And it's still happening. And they have both died. My mother 5 years ago, my father 7, 8 years ago. And this is a kind of homage to them, but it's also an homage to all families, all parents, whether you knew them or not, whether you had a good relationship with them or not. I happen to be blessed to have a wonderful relationship with them. And there's 2 scenes you're going to see. One is called He Said, She Said, thus the chairs. And it's a list of quotes and things that my parents said from the time we were young, as we aged and got older, until the time when they depart. And the second section follows directly. It's a kind of reiteration of the he said, she said idea, but in a kind of almost operatic song. And it revisits the same word list that was in the chair section. The music is by my fellow compatriot and colleague Jerome Begin. It's a gift to have his music in anything that I do. And these are the 2 excerpts from Inheritance, a Litany. He said, "Don't be such a Sarah Bernhardt." She said, "You need to practice your violin because it doesn't come easy. Someday you'll understand why." He said, "It's not that I don't trust you. I just don't trust the situation." She said, "Starting tonight, we'll be reading from the encyclopedia at the end of each dinner, beginning with A." They said, "You can't smoke pot. You have to set a good example for your sisters." She said, "Mel, Save the wrapping paper. He said, what do you mean you can't walk? I thought dancing was supposed to keep you in shape. She said, you know, when you all walk around in a circle at the end of the Schubert piece, you're looking out and everyone else is looking into the circle. Well, thanks, Mom. He said, Sandy, don't tell her that. He said, nobody your age should have to go to so many funerals. I said, but you're the one who fought in the Battle of the Bulge and watched all your buddies.
You can see the Germans on the other side. One of the guys in the company decided that for some reason he was going to go out and reconnoiter and see what was going on. And we told him not to go, that it was very dangerous and it was not a thing to do. But he decided on his own that he was going to go. He got out about 20 or 30 feet and he was shot and killed. We brought him back into that building, put him up on a table because there was nothing for us to do. And we were waiting there a couple of hours, and pretty soon everybody got hungry, and so we broke out our K-rations. We began to eat. It was a very strange experience, sitting there with a dead friend, and you're having your lunch, but you really had no choice.
And you were only 19. He wrote, I think all three of my daughters are nuts. She said, you know, I think your father is crazy. He said, your mother is out of her mind. If I say the sky is blue, she'll say, no, it's green. She said, I need to go walk on the beach. He said, your mother is one of the world's great talkers. I said, if the two of you don't stop fighting, you're going to have to leave this apartment and not come back. She said, I need to go walk on the beach. He said, I'm so glad you're going back to get your degree. I've always thought you hadn't lived up to your intellectual capacity. He said, Sandy, don't shuffle. Pick up your feet when you walk. He said, I'm reading all the books you give me, but I still don't really understand what mindfulness is. He said, hey, in only a few more years, you'll be able to come to elder hostels with us. Goody. She said, don't tell your father that I fell last night. He said, if I had known how much money we had saved, I would have bought a red convertible sports car and traveled to Israel. She said, I can't move to this apartment. You can see the parking lot from here. He said, I don't really miss the house. I miss going places whenever I want. He said, well, it's very nice here, but everyone here is going to die. I said, so are we all, Dad. He said, not me. He said, if I ever get like that, you have to promise to push me out a window. She said, did Mel die? I said, who told you that? She said, you did. She said, is there going to be an end for Mel? I said, yes, Mom, don't worry. I said, Mom, you are the most patient patient. She said, dear, whose picture is that? I said, that's your grandson, Daniel. She said, and who's this? I said, Those were your parents. I said, hello? Mom? Mom, are you still in there? She said, violin, violin, encyclopedia, violin, encyclopedia, save the wrapping, save the wrapping, wrapping paper, nuts, nuts, crazy, 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 nuts, crazy, out of her mind. Save the wrapping, save the wrapping, violin. Don't shuffle, don't shuffle, 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 convertible, red convertible, red convertible. The house, the house, the house, the house. A window, a window, window. Patient, patient, patient. Hello, hello. Mom, 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 mom. Da 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 da. Mom, 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 da 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 da. Mom, 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 mom.
Wow. Woo! Wow. Wonderful. Thank you. Very powerful. Thank you.
Yes, it was very powerful. I agree, Laura. Janis, thank you for this. What a gift to be able to embody all of these complexities and so beautifully and with such expansiveness and insight.
Thank you. I hope to get to do the whole piece sometime in Philly. It'll be a gift.
I hope so too. Please do stay on. I'm sure we'll have some questions for you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, a quick reminder to consider donating to these wonderful performers. The link is in the chat and it's tax deductible. Krish Raghav is a comic book artist based in Beijing. He's one of the co-founders of the Chaoyang Trap newsletter, and he's been involved with the city's indie music scene for a decade. Krish was a 2019 McDowell Fellow and a 2020 Yaddo Fellow. His comics have appeared in the New Yorker, Washington Post, BBC, GQ, and more. He's currently working on a graphic novel about underground music in Beijing. Some people ask how I find my performers and artists for the salon, which centers around music and may include other disciplines which employ music in some way. I've met many artists in the thriving music scene in Philadelphia and also through my own concert travels and residencies. Krish and I crossed paths at the artist residency Yaddo in Saratoga Springs in February to mid-March 2020, the last residency there as the pandemic hit. Our group bonded through the experience and stayed in touch. It was such an intense time, right, for all of us. I was fascinated by Krish's work and asked him if he would be willing to present to us from his studio in Beijing. I'm going to turn things over to Krish, who will talk about his graphic novel. Join me in giving Krish Raghav our warmest welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm just going to set up my presentation here. This will be a bit of a break from all the incredible performances. Just going to show some comics and we're going to listen to some music at the end. I hope everyone can see this. Yes? Okay. All right, so I'm here to talk about a comic book that I'm working on about the city of Beijing and the music that came out of the city of Beijing. The book is called Open All the Buddha Boxes, and it centers on this incredible 20-year run of music that came out of Beijing from 1999 to 2019. A period that I try to argue should be as important to the history of modern music as Manchester or New York in the 70s or Berlin before the fall of the wall. A place where, briefly, the musical possibilities were endless. And I say was because the story does not have the most positive of endings, and the story of the Beijing music scene is in many ways a tragedy, but it's a tragedy worth remembering, because what happened in Beijing was extraordinary. China, as many of you know, was largely closed to the outside world till the 1970s, which meant that, with a few exceptions, the entirety of modern music was discovered later and all at once. So from the 90s onwards, thanks to the internet, thanks to smuggled cassette tapes and CDs, you had this generation that grew up discovering Joy Division at the same time as Madonna, at the same time as John Cage, at the same time as Nirvana, with none of the markers of genre, of class, of taste, of time that would normally separate these musical tastes. So in other words, the entire history of 20th century alternative music happened in a single place over a single generation. And I want to give you a taste of that story and the kind of music that could result from this sound clash by talking about Chui Wan, the most Beijing of Beijing bands, a band that could not have come from anywhere else. That, true to the Beijing style, combined classical music, Central Asian psychedelia, Turkish rhythms, Mandarin pop ballads, and the gloom of Beijing's air pollution into a sound that represented the city itself. So they started, as many bands in my book do, around the 2008 Olympics, when the city was too busy overturning itself for this big global spectacle that it completely ignored all the kids in dive bars and punk rock dives just making weird experimental noise music. I think a lot of people tend to think of censorship in China as this all-pervasive force, but it largely is activated on scale, which means that small, the marginal, the underground, tends to get away with quite a bit, just like this group did. They all met at a salon of sorts at a venue called D22 near the University District, and they were all migrants to Beijing. And they started jamming at these sessions where their classical training, many of them were trained as violinists, started to break down and morph into something more abstracted, more in tune with the noise and the ferment around them. And so, especially with the singer Yan Yulong, he started using his classical training to experiment with noise, experiment with representations of flux and formlessness and concrete and pollution. And all of this started to inspire the bands that started forming around Chui Wan. And the music that these bands were creating at the time was really a reflection of the kind of clangor and ferment and the excitement of the time. This chance to really create a sound for a new generation, a sound that could capture an exciting moment of relative openness in China. And the sounds of Beijing began to appear in Chui Wan's music. Like I said, concrete, brick, flux, formlessness, the gray of the polluted air. They were reflecting the texture and heaviness of the time. And what they were after was nothing less than a new sound, something that had never been done before. And they began to be inspired by all the bands around them and the hundreds of punk rockers and indie musicians and filmmakers and fashion designers that started congregating around this venue. And the sonic murk that they were immersed in kind of gave them this glimpse of this ocean of possible sound, a kind of distillation of everything they were hearing. And so they turned to Taoism and Tao philosophy for their name, taking a two-character phrase for the sound of the wind from a text in a Taoist text that reads, "When the wind blows, every sound may be heard therein." The most representative work of theirs, which we'll be listening to shortly, is their self-titled 2015 album, an album that's gone down in legend and kind of become a defining sonic document of the time. Even though it's quite a stretch to call them the Beijing band, they represented the sound of this moment more than any other band of that era. Even though in their music you will only find a very reluctant philosophy or psychogeography of the city itself. Now, the band Chui Wan do not play together anymore. The places that nurtured them and in turn were reflected in their music are long gone, more victims of Beijing's endless march forward. And their music is kind of an elegy for a specific time. But the philosophers in them are all too aware of balance and restoration. So Chui Wan sing about loss, but they also sing about the new that will take its place. They know that something was submerged and something disappeared, but they're also hopeful that something else will take its place. So, to cap off, I want to play the song 7 Chances from their self-titled second album, and in which you'll hear strains of Chinese and Central Asian folk music, Western classical training, Turkish psychedelic rock, New York post-punk, noise rock, and putting it all together, the sound of Beijing itself circa 2015. This is 7 Chances. Nice. Thank you so much for listening.
Wow, it's amazing.
Fascinating.
Thank you so much, Krish. I know we have some interest coming from the chat. People want to know if the graphic novel is completed, and hopefully we can talk to you more about it at some point. I know you have to go back to work. It's sometime in the morning for you.
It's Monday morning in Beijing, yeah. The graphic novel will be out in 2023, but I'll be monitoring the chat, so I'll be answering questions in a little bit once I reach the office. Thank you so much again.
Sounds great. Thank you. Krish Raghav, everybody.
Woo.
As I mentioned earlier, I was asked a few days ago to perform on this treasure of a piano. And so I'm going to play something that I'd already prepared for a presentation to the artists here recently. This is just a 3-minute excerpt from one of my cantatas that's inspired by my Tibetan music fieldwork in the Nepalese Himalaya. This is movement 3 from Sego La, At the Threshold of This Life, that I actually started here in 2011 at McDowell. The text in the Mustangi dialect of Tibetan is about a boy who meets a girl whom he knows it will become his destiny to marry, and he likens her to a green pasture and a flower and a lake. The piece is scored for double chorus and chamber orchestra, so please use your imagination. Learn more about Sego La and my Tibetan-inspired works on my website, AndreaClearfield.com. Give me just a moment to change the settings here. La sego hola nedere shochen la malachis. La sego hola nedere shochen la
Wow.
Wow.
If you'd
Beautiful
like to
voice, Andy.
Yes, singing.
Yay.
very often, I sing the parts of what I'm writing, so this was a special thing for me to perform and sing for you. So I would like to move on and introduce my dear friend, Larissa Verhuntz, who is got up very early in the morning to perform for us, perform her music for us from Slovenia. Larissa Verhuntz is a composer living in Slovenia. Her music is performed by renowned artists, mostly in Europe. She's received many commissions and awards. Larissa is currently collaborating on a puppet theater piece for adults and is involved with the Creative Europe project with the Radio Symphony Orchestra and scientists doing research on how the human brain reacts to music and sound at a very, very early age. She has a PhD in musicology and is full professor at the University of Ljubljana. She's also co-founder and artistic director of New Music Forum Ljubljana, a festival that aims at presenting the most relevant music of the post-war period. Larissa and I also met at an artist residency and have stayed in touch since we shared an idyllic summer writing music at Civitella, a 15th century castle in Umbria, Italy, 7 years ago. I'm grateful that she agreed to present her music from her home in Slovenia. Let's give a hearty welcome to Larissa Verhuntz.
Thank you, Andrea, for this nice introduction, and bravo to all the musicians that have presented their works so far. I'm really impressed, and yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this wonderful event. So thank you, Andrea, for having me. Yeah, when we did this residency together, Andrea told me about the saloon with a lot of affection, and so I was following the news of how this community has been developing, and yeah, about home being bought and everything. And so I don't feel like a total stranger, like although I'm new here. So yeah. I was thinking about what to present tonight because here it's 3 a.m. and I would wake everyone up if I played something. So I will present a piece that I have on video. It's called Time Crumbs, and this is a paraphrase of title of the poem that I used as a starting point. This was the first COVID piece because it was supposed to be performed in Poland in late March 2020. But by that time, in fact, just a week before this was supposed to happen, there was a total lockdown of the whole Europe, so it didn't happen. Finally, it was played in Slovenia in autumn of the same year. But again, there were very strict COVID restrictions that didn't allow us to organize a live concert. So it was just recorded and broadcast, but it was still a very special thing for all of us because the musicians were really glad that they had something to work on. And I was so happy to hear a live sound of the instruments after such a long time. Yeah, so it holds a special place in my heart. Also, I'm grateful to all the musicians who did such a good work because it's a demanding piece for them, especially for the tenor. So my starting point here was a poem by a Slovene poet Boris A. Novak. In fact, it's a set of 10 little songs or impressions, like a haiku thing. So I will share my screen now to show you what this is. So I tried to translate, and I will not read everything because it's too much, but just to give you an idea, it's 10 little 3-line things. And they are dealing with, the title says Star Crumbs, and my piece is Time Crumbs because music works with time. And he was dealing with, like, he was imagining the stars and their life on the skies, from before they wake up to when they go to sleep. So the second poem, for example, would be: the morning is picking up stars like crumbs on the tablecloth of darkness. And the one in the middle: the shadows are blind, hence the light takes them by the hand. And the last one: the stars are golden buttons on a nightgown. Good night, sky. So I really like the form of those little ideas, separated by the asterisks. That for me was like an empty sky, and then suddenly something happening, and then this empty sky again. And by coincidence, at that time, somebody sent me a link to a video that was on Centre Pompidou webpage, and it was the animation of Wassily Kandinsky's painting called Bleu de Ciel, sky blue. So for me, it was like a revelation. It was when I saw this, I said to myself, well, that's what I hear, how I hear or imagine these poems to be. And yes, so it just, from that time on, I just knew about what I wanted to do. Especially interesting for me is the blue surface underneath those objects that are moving around, because it's not just blue, but it has many fine shadows and it's not static at all. And this is what I wanted to achieve. So I will now show you this animation. Okay, so musically, I wanted to find something that would work with this idea of sky that is, it is static, but it's not static at the same time. So I had this idea to use multiphonics, a chain of multiphonics that are going one to the other smoothly and calmly, and then there are more active parts that are coming against this surface in the background. So now I will first play this background. So the beginning of the piece starts with this, the multiphonics. Okay, so you will recognize this in the piece. And against this background, there are very tiny things coming in. And then little by little, the musicians become more active. It's like the stars getting more active towards the end of the day before they finally go to bed. And basically behind this decision to do it more and more often with this other gestures that come over this basis, this was a musical decision, not based on the poem, which is like just 10 sections that are all equal. I didn't respect this in the piece. For to end this presentation with, I will play you the last few minutes of the video that I have. It's too long to present it in its full length, so if anyone is interested, you can find it on YouTube channel. So here is the end, the last part of the piece. So this is it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Larissa, and please do check the chat. That was a really fascinating piece. David Clowney says, would love to see all of it with the animation. Gloria says, thanks for staying awake to share the background info and music and your composition. It was really stunning and so intricate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think you'll be able to stay on with us while we have our discussion at the end.
I'll try.
Thank you. Larissa Verhunts. I met the next performer through Beth Morrison's New York City Prototype Festival supporting the creation of new opera music theater. I became involved with Prototype when my opera had its first performance there. I was amazed at how Prototype quickly adapted to the online medium after the pandemic hit and held an extraordinary streaming festival in 2020 with insightful new operatic crossover works specifically designed for online performance. Modulation was the first piece I saw in that festival, where 13 different composers were commissioned to create music with video collaboration on the themes of isolation, identity, or fear, with the connection of breath. I asked Beth if any of her artists with modulation might wish to present on the Zalon. We saw Paul Pinto's work a few months ago, and now I'm thrilled to welcome, for the first time to the Salon, Juhi Bansal. The music of Juhi Bansal is performed internationally and celebrates musical and cultural diversity, nature, the environment, and strong female role models. An Indian composer brought up in Hong Kong, she draws upon elements as disparate as progressive metal, Hindustani music, spectralism, musical theater, and choral traditions. Also a conductor, she's been awarded many fellowships nationwide and frequently premieres the work of other composers. Juhi will present the piece she wrote for Prototype's Modulation Project, and she'll introduce the piece and the story and then play the video. Let's give our warmest welcome to Juhi Bansal.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, everyone. So this project, I have to say, it was, as Andrea said, I mean, a surprise. The pandemic happened and suddenly we were shifting everything online and trying to figure out how to take up, what was supposed to be live projects into mostly streaming versions, which is what this was. And Beth's company Prototype gave me the idea of identity as the theme to play with. And what I wanted to do with my piece is to base it off of the story of the Bangladesh Girls Surf Club. I don't know if anybody's heard about them. They were in the New York Times. There's a couple of documentaries about them. And it's a group I had volunteered with a few years ago. And for anybody who doesn't know, the story is basically that in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, it's the largest uninterrupted stretch of beach in the world, but also one of the poorest parts of the world. It's a very traditional culture. It's an area that has extreme poverty. So girls are normally not sent to school. They're often married away between the ages of 11 to 13 to much older men because their families can't keep them and support them. And they don't normally go to school. Their families need them to be working and earning money. So a couple of girls had been walking on the beach, this is a few years ago, kind of selling trinkets for their families as they do, and they saw a local lifeguard surfing. And they asked him to teach them how to surf. And from that, it started out as a surf club for the girls, and then it turned into a school and tutoring. And the first girl actually just graduated from high school a couple of, I want to say last year. And it's food aid and other help for the family so that they're not marrying away the girls so young. So what started as a surf club turned into something much greater than that. And the idea was to try to give the girls just more choices and more options for what their lives might be. So for me, I'd spoken with the girls a couple of times and got to know the people who started the club, and the story itself was really fascinating to me. And when I built this little digital short out of it and wrote the music, there were two themes in particular that I thought really struck me as being important. One was this kind of idea of culture clash, because the girls are kind of caught right in the center between this very traditional society, literally patriarchal society, where girls are not allowed to go in the water. They get called names if they go in the water. They're physically barred from entering the water because it's not appropriate for them to do. And on the other hand, they're getting really interested and invested in surf culture, which is, just not a comfortable fit between the two. So one of the things you'll hear in the music for the short is there's a Hindustani singer singing in Bengali, and there's a Western soprano, and they're basically singing the same text, but of course in very different styles and different languages, to kind of try to emulate that culture clash. And the other thing, I think this is the largest kind of overarching theme of the piece, is about the girls using their love for the water and their love for the waves as kind of both inspiration and something to pull strength from as they're just fighting to make a place for themselves that allows them to make choices and make decisions about what their lives might be. So without further ado, I'm just going to mute myself and share the video.
Ah.
啊。
Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah. 啊。 Ah.
Thank you so much. That piece was just such a joy to get to put together because, during the pandemic, all the musicians I know have had their version of this. It's like everything you expected to be doing kind of shut down. So this was just a really exciting opportunity to get to collaborate. And we had the Hindustani singer Ranjana Khattak. She recorded from the UK. Catherine Schumann recorded from here. I want to say in Utah, and just it was a really fantastic opportunity to pull together a team from all over the place and build this project that I think could only really have happened during the pandemic.
Yeah, that was stunningly beautiful, Juhi. Really, just extraordinary. And thank you for sharing the story behind it. We were all very moved.
Thank you so much, Hendra.
Thank you. So we're going to move on, but we'd love to chat with you. So please do stay with us. Composer Sheridan Seyfried received degrees in composition from the Curtis Institute and the Manhattan School of Music, where he worked with Richard Danielpour, Jennifer Higdon, and Ned Rorem. His catalog of orchestral, chamber, and vocal music includes several concerti and a concert-length choral arrangement of music from the Holocaust. Sheridan previously served on the music theory faculties of both Curtis and Mannes College and taught composition at the Atlantic Music Festival. Sheridan, who knows I'm going to say this because I think it's cool, holds the great distinction of being many moons ago the youngest composer to have his works performed at the Salon at age 12 or so. His mother presented his compositions to me, and wow, I was really impressed. He's been performing here ever since. Sheridan will perform an original piano translation of a work from the symphonic repertoire from his home in Orland, Pennsylvania. Let's give a warm welcome back to Sheridan Seyfried.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to adjust my camera here. I think that'll capture what's going on. So, sorry if you're only hearing this out of your left speaker or headphone, but the music will come out of both. I'm going to play a movement by Johannes Brahms. If you know classical music, you'll know Brahms, but if you don't so much, Brahms was a Romantic era composer, 19th century composer, who was very much kind of in the shadow of Beethoven, or so he felt himself. He was a very self-conscious kind of person, and he was a lifelong bachelor, and he was really kind of I think an amazing craftsman, a musical craftsman, and he was very, very self-critical, and it took him forever to compose his first symphony, which is the work I'm going to play for you. I'm going to play a movement of it. And so finally, when he's, I guess about 50 years old, he comes out, or 45 years old probably, he comes out with his first symphony, because he was just so intimidated by Beethoven before him. He was that self-conscious. I think Brahms is at heart a miniaturist, despite having some long and extended symphonic movements. I think he was happiest and, in a way, most successful writing these perfect 5-minute miniature pieces that just can be endlessly dissected and, like these little gemstones. I think he was in his happy place. And I'm going to play one such for you tonight. It's about 5.5 minutes. It is the third movement of his first symphony. And if you don't know the first symphony, you might actually have heard a little bit of it before. I'm going to play you just a little bit of the theme from the finale, which is not the movement I'm going to play, and see if you can recognize this. This is from Brahms' first. Kind of sounds like Beethoven's Ninth, the Ode to Joy, a little bit. And that was a fact that kind of annoyed Brahms. He hated the comparison because probably in the back of his mind he knew it was true. So I'm going to play you the third movement, and if you listen carefully, you'll actually hear a little reference to that theme that Brahms snuck in there. It's a little Easter egg for you. Otherwise, the movement is Brahms didn't tend to write the typical scherzo, which was kind of what followed the minuet in musical history as the traditional third movement of symphonies. Beethoven wrote these kind of boisterous, hearty, belly laugh kind of movements. But Brahms wrote these very intimate kind of serenades, and you'll find that the third movement of all of his symphonies are these exquisite miniatures, and many of them very intimate. I hear in this one, to me, this is a very pastoral scene. I see a brook. I hear the cascading water. I hear some birds dialoguing. At one point, it might get interrupted by a little folk dance. And in the middle, there's a contrasting section in the middle about the majesty of nature. That's kind of how I hear it. And then he returns to the opening kind of pastoral music, but being Brahms, there are all these kind of weaving together of the middle section with the ending. And so see if you can follow as much of that as you can. But either way, I'm confident that you'll love this movement just as I do. This is Brahms' First Symphony, third movement.
Thank you so much, Sheridan. It's interesting to me, and I'd love to talk to you maybe after at the end during the Q&A to figure out how you know what to leave in and how to choose, with contrapuntal sections. I mean, you're an amazing pianist, but you still only have 10 fingers. So, so I'd love to learn a little bit about your process in making these translations, as you
Sure.
call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrea.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
A reminder, everyone, that you can donate to these exceptional artists by making a simple tax-deductible contribution using the link in the chat and on our website, zalonarts.org. And feel free to email me if you need the link again. Please check out the artist bios and links on our program page. Our next performer is Susie Sorek, an internationally recognized multimedia artist whose installations, videos, and drawings involve qualities of wind, water, light, shadow, and luminosity. She merges technology and traditional media drawing with light through projection and spatial layering of form and image. Susie lives and works in New York City and the Hudson Valley. Susie will present her multimedia installation, The Shape of Light. Susie and I met when we were both at the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts last summer. After she gave a presentation on her work, I was inspired to return to my studio that very night and craft a soundscape in response. I have synesthesia, and her work spoke to my synapses. I'll turn things over to Susie, who can tell you more. Help me welcome my friend and collaborator, Susie Sorek, presenting to us from her home in upstate New York.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Andrea, for having me here at the Zalon. It's such a treat and an honor. And also thank you so much to all the performers, the artists, the technicians for co-creating this evening together. I'm going to just mention a few notes. I am reading a little just so I don't meander off tangent too far. I will be presenting a 6-minute clip of a 17-minute performance called The Shape of Light. The Shape of Light is conceived of as a grouping of projection installations, each an immersive, translucent, triangular environment intended for audience participation, each stemming from a section of an ongoing poem which explores color through association and sensory perception. The writing started at the beginning of the pandemic, where I found myself drawn more to write than to work in my studio in visual ways as I had. The conical form that you will see is based on the shape of light as it enters the eye and as it exits a projector. The project began to take form while in residency at Mass MoCA in spring 2021, the first time kind of out of the lockdown. There, my words shifted to a kind of soft structure. I experimented with layers of different kinds of translucent fabrics to both catch and transfer the video, bouncing it around through the piece and through the room. The Shape of Light developed further while in residency at VCCA this past summer, with the addition of a musical soundscape and physical movement by our very own Andrea Clearfield. The phase of the project and of our meeting revolved around the color blue and its complements, orange and yellow. Swimming in VCCA's luscious pool, I commented on the various colors of the blue of the sky, of the water, and of the pool. And Andrea commented on the sounds she heard from them. Thus, swimming in the pool is how I learned of her synesthesia. About a week or so later, during an evening of open studios, I presented a model of the project in its full version with several colorful conical forms, along with indigo ink drawings. Shortly afterwards, I was gifted with the most extraordinary thing, an original soundtrack, an electroacoustic sketch for the work by Andrea. It was such a gift. So at this point, the project went from an ongoing kind of looping video, an immersive sculptural installation, to a more performative piece with a beginning, a middle, and somewhat of an ending. We also recorded some of the text as spoken word with improvised sound within a silo at VCCA. In the clips I'm going to show you, you'll see aquatic imagery, which I filmed at the Baltimore Aquarium, as well as underwater in the lakes and waterfalls in Minnewaska State Park, the Mohonk Preserve in New York's Hudson Valley. There's also imagery I filmed microscopically, and this footage becomes overlaid with other dancers. Through the translucent fabric skin, the images begin to slide and fragment, they overlap, and they always surprise me with their overlays of color and pattern. So they can be viewed from exterior or interior. In this way, a person can be both, well, through the work, a person can be both isolated and interconnected, cocooned, and immersed in biological and aquatic worlds. As our current state of confinement shifts, we tentatively sense the porousness of our space. At this point, The Shape of Light is a project looking for a venue, a place for viewers to experience not only the Blue House, but other immersive color environments. I've selected two parts of the piece, one with a section of the spoken word and the next with Andrea's soundscape titled Parachute Blue. I will share my screen now.
Before I was born, my mother swam alongside fish. Before the Yucatan had much electricity, before the reefs were killed by overuse. When I was a teen, I got contact lenses and could now see this fluid world of color and pattern appear as parrot and angelfish, ray and barracuda. We snorkeled together, she and I, and the sea until shortly before her death. From her I learned that spirit is in these watery blues and greens, in the motion of waves as they covered our feet, as we found treasure in their wake. I was born a fish with the horns of a ram. In the year of the cocoon, house, home, body, and bone became one. Each house a color, each body a tone. What is the color of being caught? What is the color of release?
Susie, it's so nice to see this again, and so beautiful what you've created when you put the video together of our presentation at VCCA. It looks really wonderful.
Well, thank you. And it was such a treat to work together with you and to relive it through the video. There is a longer version, the full version, and that's on my website. So here you can kind of see where it's been sort of sliced together, but I wanted to be able to show up, those two sections tonight.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you, Susie. I look forward to making more collaborations happen. That's Susie Sorek from Hudson Valley, New York, and we'll have a chance to talk to her a little bit more in a bit. So everybody, again, just please consider donating to these wonderful artists. The link is in the chat. And also please have your drink of choice ready for our customary toast to community and art following this last performance. Tom Begich is a traveling musician and poet who performs his original music and an occasional poem around the country with his wife, Sarah Sledge. Tom has released 5 CDs and published a book of sonnets. He recently completed a new book-length poem entitled Constitution, parts of which were first heard at my salon in Philadelphia. Tom also serves as minority leader of the Alaska State Senate. He runs a small communications and strategic planning agency and has been a licensed private detective, while Sarah is the executive director of an education nonprofit focused on improving education outcomes for Alaska school districts. Tom has built his fall tour around performances at the Salon since 2009. He and Sarah live in Alaska and are now back on the road. They're joining from Lakeland, Florida. Let's give some love to my friends, Tom Begich and Sarah Sledge.
Thank you very much. We're glad to be here for the closing set, and we've been traveling around the world with you today and with all the audience, and we're going to bring you home with 2 very, very simple pieces that have history. They come from things that I've been working on for years that I finally found time during this COVID period to bring some closure to these songs, and so I hope that you enjoy them. And I can't thank you enough, Andrea, and your crew. You've done a great job for all of us tonight, and so thank you for continuing the spirit and the beauty of the salon, and for keeping us in your heart and continuing to invite us. And we're going to look forward to drinking the champagne that's behind me over here as soon as we're done. This first one's called The Offer, and it came from a bet where with some other musicians we bet on if we could do a song about the Paradise Club on the south side of town. This was my final rendition of it. I met her one night on the south side of town at the Paradise Club, like an angel cast down. Well, she was quietly drinking past a too weary frown, hidden where everyone could see. Well, I pulled up a chair and I stuck around, lost in her silence, in her quiet I found. Well, I was drawn into her, and there was hardly a sound, till she looked up and said to me, I got a busted heart, I can't seem to set right. I'm tired of just trying this struggle, this fight. Oh, I'm ready for an offer where I just can't lose. Little loving is what I could use. Oh, just make me an offer tonight. We talked about love like it wasn't ours anymore, and I paid the bill as we slipped out that door. We walked the streets of that town until well after 4, wandering through each other's lives. And I stayed with her for what was left of that night. I made her an offer and she turned out the light. But like so many times before, anymore wasn't right. When we woke, we said our goodbyes. I got a busted heart I can't seem to set right. I'm tired of just trying this struggle, this fight. Oh, I'm ready for an offer where I just can't lose. A little loving is what I could use. Oh, just make me an offer tonight. I've got a busted heart I can't seem to set right. I'm tired of just trying this struggle, this fight. Oh, I'm ready for an offer where I just can't lose. A little loving is what I could use. Oh, just make me an offer, oh, make me an offer. Oh, make me an offer tonight. So that's a little song called The Offer. We're working on, we have 5 CDs out, and I think that they're putting the different websites there, and please feel free to get one for a Christmas gift. That'll be on the next CD, which we are working on. And this last song that we're going to play for you is a song that I started for Sarah many years ago. I wrote a little piece like that, and then I decided to finally figure out how to make the song work. So this is called Wonder. Well, ain't this a day now, way the moon shines on the water, reflecting on us as that moon reflects on me. And I can't say now how we finally found our way here, me next to you, and you, all I see. And it fills me with wonder. And I'm in now with you, so filled with wonder, us two. And as the wind is rising, I watch it break over the water, sending waves crashing down hard against the shore. And I've never ever seen an ocean as wild as you do now, both a tempest and a tempered hand resting on my brow. And it fills me with wonder. And I'm in now with you, so filled with wonder, us two. So hold me still in the quiet of this evening, as night moves to morning, and I take your hand, and I will love you as we hold on to each other till time itself slips away, turning stone to sand. How it fills me with wonder. I'm here now with you, so filled with wonder. Us two. How it fills me with wonder. I'm here now with you, so filled with wonder. Us two. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all.
What a beautiful love song, Sarah. How did it feel to receive that gift?
He's been playing that music for me for 10 years, and I love the music so much. And every time we would play it, I would just get overwhelmed. I'm like, I love that music. So when he finally produced the song, that was something.
I played it for over the phone, actually,
That's
because we
true.
were in different towns when I finished it, and so I was. There's a great editor. She helps me edit these pieces, so it makes it even better. You know, they get better and better as time goes by. I'm going back to old songs, and they're becoming like actually good. You know, thanks to Sarah.
Well, I love the rapport between the two of you. It really it reveals a deep love. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and for closing the program with these two heartfelt songs. And we are going to have a toast, but first, I want to thank all the performers for an incredible night of performance and creation, and hurrah to the amazing Salon tech team. I'd love to ask the tech team to spotlight themselves and receive our accolades. So let's unmute our microphones and give some love to Gerardo Rizamni, Manu Gajana, Alex.
Hey! Woo! Love it.
Dowell staff is here. You can also show yourselves. Thank you all so much. It's just, I know Gerardo works so hard, kind of managing so many details, and especially during the hybrid. So thank you all, and especially to Gerardo. And I'd like to give a big round of applause to all of the performers who shared their gifts and artists who shared their gifts tonight.
Yes. Yay!
The next salon will be the annual festival holiday salon on December 19th. That will be a hybrid, both in my loft and streamed in and out. If you'd like to receive updates, please email me. The link is on my website, AndreaClearfield.com. So now let's lift our glasses for our traditional salon toast to art, to health, to community, to gratitude. A happy Thanksgiving to all. Cheers.